Hey there and welcome back. So I'm working on canning up my last batch of venison that I have, and if you missed the video that I uploaded last week on why and how to can venison, I'll leave a link right here. Just click on that along with down in the description if you want to check it out after you watch this video. But one of the things that I promised in that video is that I would illustrate easy, simple recipes on how to use the canned meat. One of the advantages of using canned meat that I mentioned in that video is easy, simple meal preparation. So on a recent trip to the ranch that I took with my brother, I took a couple of jars of venison with the intent of creating a recipe that's simple, easy, something that we could eat between hunts, and I made instant carne guisada. So let's take a look and see how that turned out. So we've canned our meat, but now what do we do with it? Well, there's plenty of instructional videos on YouTube on how to can meat, but unfortunately there's just not a whole lot of instructions on what to do with it afterwards. So what I want to do here is I want to kind of do some videos showing some recipes on how you might use the canned meat. In this case, I'm going to make some carne guisada, and I'm actually going to use a real simple carne guisada recipe. This is Bollner's Fiesta brand carne guisada seasoning. And it's just basically carne guisada in a can, and then you add the venison to it and let it simmer for about 15 minutes. One of the things that takes the longest time when you're making carne guisada is getting the meat to fork tender. So if you were to take your stew meat, you got to stew it for a couple hours till it's fork tender and then let it simmer in the carne guisada seasoning. And so we're going to skip that step by using our canned meat, which is already tender. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to take this, I want to save all the juice, all that broth from this venison. So I'm actually going to pour it out here and just save that in a jar, and we'll make use of that later. That's got a lot of good flavoring in it right there. So when we, instead of adding water, we're actually going to add this broth first, kind of a deer stock if you will, and then we'll add as much water as necessary when we make it. So the first thing that I want to do after I do that is I'm going to take, I've got a couple of tablespoons of oil here in my pan, and I'm just going to put that in there and start browning that. I want to kind of keep it in chunks. I don't want to break it apart. It'll have a tendency to start trying to break apart, but I just want to brown it on the outside, and I'm going to be careful not to break it apart just yet. So I'm going to let it get kind of a crust on it, caramelize a little bit just on the sides, and then turn it over. It won't take very long. It's already cooked, so the only thing we want to do is get a little of that caramelization on it. Alright, so now with this Fiesta brand seasoning, you can just put the seasoning, it's about 5 tablespoons for 2 pounds of meat. You can just go ahead and put that in directly to the mix and then add your water to it. Based on a post from TexasBowhunter.com, I'm going to step it up just a little bit. Brandon H. had a nice post on TexasBowhunter.com where he added some onions and some garlic to it. I have some left over from last night's dinner. So I've got some chopped onion, and I'm just going to put that in there and start kind of sweating that a little bit. Just get that all mixed in. I'm going to hold off. I've got the garlic kind of chopped fine, so I'm going to wait till the last minute so we don't burn that garlic there. But I'm just going to start letting these flavors kind of come together right here. And then I've got about 5 or 6 tablespoons of the Fiesta seasoning. I'm just going to put it right in here over there. Just right over all of that. Alright, then once we get, that's actually going to start to make a little bit of a roux. Once we get those onions and that meat browned up, then we can go back and we can add our leftover stock. So I'm just going to pour that right over the top of it. And I'm probably just going to add just a little bit of water to that mixture, and that's going to make our gravy. So we'll just kind of let that simmer, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and add our garlic in there. Now I've also canned some potatoes, and I've got those right here. I'm going to pour off the liquid out of these potatoes. I think it's going to be a little bit too starchy. From those, just empty that out right there. Doesn't have to get all of it out. And then I'm just going to pour that into our gravy mix there. and then let that simmer. I'm going to put a lid on it, and we're going to let that simmer for about 15 minutes until it's the right consistency, the right thickness. After you let it simmer, you probably want to go ahead and remove that lid, and then you can let it simmer until it reaches the right consistency. So we'll come back and see what that looks like. Alright, so we've been letting this simmer. I actually simmered it for about 30 minutes just to let the flavors kind of combine a little bit more. And then heated up some tortillas. We're going to throw there. I'm actually going to put the Carne Guisada, just scoop it in on a plate. And then put all the different toppings that we got. Maybe put a little bit of cheese in there. Scoop in some of this salsa on top of it. And of course we got some fresh avocado slices. You can put some chopped onion on there. Of course you can always make authentic Carne Guisada, but this is a simple way to do it. We're here at deer camp, brought a couple of jars of venison, and so just a real quick throw together meal before we head back out and hunt. I know it's going to be pretty dang good. As I said, there are a lot of different things that you can do with canned meat. I just wanted to do one simple recipe that illustrates how simple it can be. Don't be afraid to try it at home. Let me know in the comment section if you have different recipes that you've used with your canned meat. I'll try to incorporate some more recipes in future videos. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.